sunny day, a lovely church, and a run through Berlin. What do any of these have to do with improving your marathon time? Welcome to Race to Sub 3, and today we're going to take a look at what mistakes I made in my first marathon and how I'm going to avoid them at the Berlin Marathon this year. So, in the words of Julia Andrews, let's start at the beginning. It's a very good place to start, and that's where I am at the beginning of the Berlin Marathon. Strasse der 17. Juni, please excuse my accent, with Siegersäule victory column behind me. Fun fact, that used to be outside the Reichstag, the Parliament building here in Berlin, but it's got moved, and it's your first obstacle on the Berlin Marathon. Do you go left? Do you go right? It doesn't really matter, it's the same distance because you're going straight on either way. So we're going to keep on going. I'm going to come up to one of the first obstacles in my training that I'm going to take on board this time to make sure I get that sub 3. What's my first tip, and tip I'm going to tip myself, but also that I'm going to remember in training for next time? Well, it's to do with the traffic lights. In Germany, you can't cross a road when the light is red. Makes sense. I think it's the law in probably a lot of places, just not enforced. I actually don't know anyone who's ever got a ticket for it, but people are pretty strict about not crossing here. You'll see people stood at the side of the road, red light, no cars on the road, but people stand there, we wait. And when you're training for a marathon, that's quite nice. Traffic light comes up. Fortunately, there's not too many of them out in the countryside, quite a few here around Siegersäule roundabout. But I use those too much. There was a 39k training run I did where I had over half an hour's break, almost 40 minutes. A 35k training run back in 2021 that I took almost, I think, 25 minutes break. In 3 hours of running, that's a lot. That gave my heart rate time to come back down, that allowed my body time to recover, which on the day in the marathon, I just didn't have. And that really showed, that really hit me. And when my heart rate kept climbing and climbing and climbing, it was used to having those breaks where it could come back down, where it could get back to normality, somewhere sensible. So that's my first tip. Don't stop at traffic lights. Well, that's not really my tip actually. My tip is, when you get to a traffic light, keep that heart rate high. Is it you have to jog forwards a little bit? Do you have to jog back down the path you just came? Or more than likely what I'm going to be doing is choosing paths that don't have traffic lights or have as few as possible. Yeah, I'm not encouraging people to break the law there. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. Let's move on to the next stop. So for the second tip, I brought you to the Englische Garten here in Tiergarten in Berlin. For a little bit of irony, what do we not have a lot of in England? Sunshine. I mean, we don't actually have a lot of sunshine here in Berlin through winter for sure. But on September 2021, we had a lot of sunshine, and it hit 30 degrees through the marathon, and that absolutely destroyed me. I hadn't planned for it, hadn't trained for it, and I was not ready for it. So that's what I need to do next time, making sure I'm adapted to that heat. Now, if on the day it's nice and cool, fantastic, but I definitely need to make sure I'm ready for it. Long sleeves in training. I used to always run in vests, literally always, and I'm going to make sure that I'm prepared a little bit better, doing my longer runs with some heat in there, not necessarily going out middle of the day, but certainly not shying away from the warmer runs. Let's move on to where the video started for my final tip. I just realized that made it sound like I'm running a full marathon today. I'm obviously not. I'm cutting in between, which, as it's a loop, you can make quite a short course. Yeah, full disclosure there. Kirche zum Guten Hirten, the Church of the Good Shepherd in Friedrich-Wilhelm-Platz. The last time I was here was September 2021, and it's at 26 kilometers in the marathon. I was not having a good time. I'd gone through the half marathon mark exactly on pace. I was on for a sub 3 hour marathon, but then my heart rate just kept on going up and up and up. I hadn't trained, I hadn't prepared for that, and I wasn't pacing it. The day was way too hot and I hadn't adjusted, and that's my next tip. Next time this happens, if I go out in September 2025 for the Berlin Marathon and it's too hot, weather's not right, I'm going to adjust accordingly. I'm not going to go out all guns blazing. I want to be sensible and make sure I'm seeing this church, not with stars in my eyes this time, but hopefully with power still in my legs and ready to power on to the finish line, which is where we're going next. Hoping I can time this right to cross the road at the green light. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Thank you very much. So, after 42 hard-fought kilometers, this is the final push. The Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, and the finish line is just a couple hundred meters past there. Now, what will I be doing differently when I'm here 6 months to the day? Well, hopefully it'll be seeing a sub 3 hour time on the clock, but I'll be doing that because I'll have set out at a sensible pace. If it's super hot, super wet, super windy, I'm going to adjust my timings accordingly. And if I don't get that sub 3 hour time, well, it's not meant to be this time, and we go again. Second of all, I'm not going to shy away from those warmer training runs. Getting nice and hot, wearing lots of clothes, and in the summer, making the most of the heat to get ready for it. And if it's a cool day, well, those are the days I enjoy more. And finally, not taking those long breaks on the long runs. Making sure my heart rate is used to 30, 35 kilometers at a steady, consistent pace, and not taking those long breaks where it gets a chance to recover so you don't have a repeat of 2021. Now join me as we jog across the finish line. And there we have it. Pretty much stood exactly on the finish line with the Brandenburg Gate behind me and Siegersäule in the background here where the start line was. Hopefully 6 months time I'll be stood here, medal in hand, sub 3 hours on the clock, and enjoying a well-deserved beer. But well, you have to join me on this channel to see how this journey progresses. And also, if you've done a marathon, I'd love to hear your top tips. What mistakes did you make the first time? Did you make the same mistakes as me? Give me some consolation that I wasn't the only one. And do you have any other tips? I'm certainly not a marathon pro, and I appreciate all the help I can get. So look forward to seeing you all soon.